Kids these days have no idea, and that's what Old Men on the Porch are here for. We wanted to spend a little time about maybe the greatest decade in movie cinema history, the 1970s. Now, let's establish some rules, and then we'll kind of get into some ideas and stuff. Now, do you legit just want to go from December 31st, 1969 to the end, 1979? Or do you want to use what's typically referred to as the changing of the guard in 67 and kind of count those as 70s films?
No. I actually think that the 70s probably don't start until like 71 or so. Like I usually think like the 80s didn't really start until 82.
Fair.
You have stuff in the late 60s, like the late 60s almost feels like its own thing. Like 67 to 71 was really different. And yeah, I think like 71, 72 is really when the 70s get started. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they don't end until probably like Raging Bull.
Might be say Heaven's Gate.
Those two, yeah. You know, when things became definitely more pop.
Yes.
You know, because the 80s, like, okay, when people call 70s the best era for film, what we're talking about is more artistic than pop. There's definitely pop in the 70s, but the 80s was the best era for movies.
Right. Yeah, so the idea that filmmakers were now orators, right? So we're getting to a little bit high-minded stuff. We kind of understand what a film can do, impacting culture, impacting generations, understanding that this is our new art form. Like, this is the high water mark.
It was the first generation of filmmakers who came from film school, basically.
Some of those being Scorsese, Coppola, Spielberg, Lucas,
Spielberg, kinda. Spielberg went to Long Beach.
Yeah,
but he ran into circles with the people from USC, and he's a chair there now. So he didn't go to USC.
He made the right play to be a hanger-on with those people. So 70s,
just knocked it out of the park
for me. Again, going back kind of to 67, it's this idea that we're anti-establishment now, right? So we're going against all the studio heads and all the studios that have been running things for so long, that had been doing some good, some bad stuff, right? And so really being able to allow filmmakers to go out there and do their own thing. Roger Corman certainly is going to be a big person.
Roger Corman is huge, especially for getting people in the latter part of the 70s and 80s into filmmaking.
Yep.
But look at what happened with Lucas in the 70s. He released THX 1138, which people didn't like, except they do now. And then it's like, oh, well, that didn't do well. I'm going to make something poppy. So he made American Graffiti, which changed movies forever because no one used pre-recorded music the way he did before. And like the music coordinator didn't even exist at that point. Okay, and then what was his movie after that? Star Wars. And then Star Wars changed everything. That's what he did. And then look at Coppola. Coppola put out 3 of the best movies ever made.
Yes, I completely agree. I no disagreement with that. Just to be able to think about the first time that I saw, which one was it? The Conversation. I mean, everybody loves the big ones in Conversation. It's definitely been something that people have picked up on over the years, especially the last 10 years or so. But that's more important than the rest of Coppola's.
And I wasn't even talking about The Conversation.
Yeah.
So you could say he had 4 of the best. And then you had studios do stuff like this. Hey, there's an actor who wrote a script in a week, and we think it's pretty good, but he wants to star in it. We don't want him to. But you know what? It's his thing. We'll give him a little bit of money, and who cares? And then it wins, the Oscar for best writing, and spawns 50 years and 8 sequels. It's Rocky.
Yeah.
That could not happen today. It could not. When would a studio give someone the money to make Rocky now?
They don't,
Like
'cause they can't
especially
even
when
make
it's like,
mid-majors.
when how long did it take you to write this? Like 5 days. It's like you wrote it in 5 days and it won an Oscar for best writing. Like that does not happen anymore.
Yeah, well, it wasn't written in 5 days, but whatever.
The final draft not, but the first draft was in 5 days.
Okay, let's be clear on something, people. As we talk to you, let's be honest with the people. That doesn't count. I know that we have these great stories. Blair Witch was made for 2 pennies and a nickel rubbed together, and he wrote it in 5 days, and whatever it is was written in 48 hours. Man, I just did it. No, you got AI can do that too. Don't even get me started on that. That's your blueprint. That's your blueprint right there. That's all you're doing.
That's the dumbest argument ever. When they were making this is off topic. When they were making Uncle Buck, right?
Yes.
John Hughes said to Macaulay Culkin, like on a Friday, he goes, "You know what? I'm going to write a movie for you." And Macaulay Culkin was a kid, and he's like, "Okay, whatever." Monday, they came back to shoot, and he handed them the finished screenplay for Home Alone. Like, he just wrote it in 2 days. This stuff happens, especially when a person is in that mindset.
Some people will
Just
argue
because you can't do it, Matt.
No, I can't, and I'm not saying that I'm anywhere close to Sloan, but I also know writers my entire life, and I know that 5 days you're not going to write a finished product in 5 days. Genre expansion.
I can prove. No, I can prove that you can because I've had to do it.
You've written an Academy Award-winning screenplay in 5 days.
No, I didn't say Academy Award-winning.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm talking about quality, not quantity. Jaws, Star Wars, The Godfather were all.
I like how you're losing the argument, so you just decide to move on
to sequels. How do we, that's kind of where we're at now. That has been where we've at in a long time. We're lazy. Hey, this thing worked one time, so let's try it again and again and again. Rush Hour 3, for example, is that again and again. I don't know why we did that. Anyways, but this is where it started and actually worked. People argue that Godfather 2 is a better movie than Godfather 1. Jaws 2.
I disagree.
You're a Jaws 2 guy, right?
God, no. I hate Jaws. It's my least favorite of all of them.
Star Wars number 2? What's the second Star Wars? I don't have a clue.
Empire Strikes Back, that's 1980. That's kind of pushing it. But I would say, yeah, it's a better movie, like in every respect. It's funny because when they talk about the explosion of the technical achievements that the first Star Wars had, like 100% right on. But I think the technical level up between New Hope and Empire is even greater. Because the stuff, the big thing for the first Star Wars was the motion control camera, the computer motion control camera. But if you take a look at all the techniques they put into Empire Strikes Back, including what feels like hours worth of stop motion animation, it's kind of ridiculous. And the effects are executed much better than the first one. Because again, the first one, they were figuring things out.
Right.
But
literally figuring things out as they go.
They were building it. That's that's what Lucas always said. It's like, well, we spent all this money and we don't have any visual effects yet. He's like, well, yeah, but before you make your canned peas, you have to build the factory that makes the cans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that when you get into the mid to late 70s, that's when you have this amazing nexus point of art and commerce, where you had artists making stuff that for some reason the general audience just really loved. And it kind of started with Jaws. And I'm surprised there haven't been more Jaws movies, but none of the sequels are any, like, they're really only like 2 or 3 good shark movies, I do love the third one. I love the concept behind the third one. Execution, not as much, but I love the concept behind the third one.
All right, we're going to play a little game right now that I don't think that you're going to like, but you're going to participate in anyhow because you are stuck with me for the next 20 minutes or so. I have a list of 29 of the greatest films of the 1970s. I am going to go through this list with you, and let's see if we can get our top 5 plus an alternate. I'm going to allow us one alternate. So here we go. Well, I'm going to start at the
Now,
bottom. I'm just going to go to the
these
top.
aren't best, but personal favorites.
No, I took a list. This is not my list. This is an online list. 29 of the best films of the 1970s.
No, but we're gonna go through and make our own. You said.
Yeah, we're making a Matt Men Movies podcast, so we have to agree.
Okay.
Yes.
But again, are we agreeing on quality or personal taste?
Well, let's figure it out as we go. How about that, shall we? Patton. Is Patton going to be one of our top 5 movies of the 70s?
No.
Yeah, that's
No.
also true. But I did like it, though. It's great. Pretty fantastic.
If we're gonna go with a war movie, we have to go with Apocalypse Now. I think that captures the post-American mindset of how badly we screwed up and how badly it screwed us up in Vietnam.
We will see. We will see if I'm a fan of that movie. How about A Clockwork Orange? Now we can also
Put that
we could
on the
grade
alternate.
this one, so we could come back to this one if we think it's
Put it
going
on
to make
the
our
alternate.
top 5.
Put it on the alternate
Okay.
because even though I love it, I do think it's not one of his best.
No, right? It is. Yeah. No, I kind of agree. Okay, Clockwork Orange on the side. Here's one that you're not going to allow me to have, but I'm going to suggest anyhow. Dirty Harry. Clint Eastwood, maybe his best. Zodiac Killer. Quintessential 70s film.
I don't. If we're taking a look at it from the 70s, I think Dirty Harry led the way for like half of the movies of the 80s to exist.
That is so true. However, I just don't think it's strong enough to make this list.
I especially looking at it now,
Yeah.
where it seems like, a fascist asshole running amok. And,
Yeah, I don't know if that made my list of movies that I'll watch the most for the rest of my life when we did that before, but I've already watched it once since that movie, so it may be. Good, dumb fun. That's what I like. How about The Last Picture Show?
No.
Ooh, Bogdanovich. Anybody? The Godfather.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Godfather, Jaws, and Star Wars have to be on the list because they're like 3 of the most important movies ever made. So that's 3 out of the 5 like taken.
Okay, so
Jaws
see.
Jaws and Star Wars are 2 of the singly most important movies ever made, and then Godfather. I mean, like, it's hard to get more classic, cinema than The Godfather.
yeah, we'll see when I get there. We'll see. I'm going to give you a threesome because I know these aren't going to make it. Serpico. God, I almost called it Scorpico. Serpico, The Sting, and Badlands. Any love for any of those 3 that could make it?
I like Serpico, but I'd go with Dog Day Afternoon before Serpico.
Badlands is so beautiful, and maybe my favorite, Sheen. But yeah, I'm not going to make the list. Conversation we talked about earlier, it would make my list, but I don't think it's going to make our list, so that's okay.
No, because again, Coppola did 3 other movies that are probably better in that same decade, and didn't they all win?
Same love for
Didn't they all
Apocalypse
win Best Picture?
Now. I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Wild card. I got a wild card coming. Are you ready for this? How about Blazing Saddles?
Yes.
Can that crack our
Yes.
list? Blazing Saddles is tremendous.
I'd put that on the alternate
Okay, so we got. Okay, so just to make sure that we're on
because
the same page,
there's
Clockwork
one that I
Orange.
think there's one that I think belongs on the list that I know you'll never put on there.
Well, you've already said one of them, but Clockwork Orange, Blazing Saddles, they're all in our potential alternates. We've also got The Godfather so far on the list, so that's where we're at so far. Next one, Chinatown, baby. That's I don't know how that can't be on our list, bro.
Put on the list for now. Because to me, it occupies, not thematically, but it feels, and maybe this is just the Robert Evans thing, it feels very similar to Coppola's work in the 70s. And if I had to go between that and Godfather, I'm going Godfather.
Going Chinatown any day over that. How about Godfather Part 2? Did you establish that Godfather's better than Godfather Part 2?
Godfather, I think, is better than Godfather Part 2. I think the reason people like Godfather Part 2 more is simply because young Vito is an incredibly compelling character, but I think the Michael stuff kind of loses steam, and it's not as... Like, it's harder to root for the family in the second one as opposed to the first one.
That's probably why I like it more, because I like scumbags. Now we're getting tough. We are in the weeds now, my friend. We are going to see how this goes for you. Tell me that One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest should not make our list.
Oh no, it needs to be on it.
That's what I'm saying. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Some days may be the best movie ever.
That's one of the most infuriating movies I've ever seen, but in a good way.
Yes.
Because I hate it when people have a crazy amount of power over anyone else and they wield it in such a petty way. I hate it. Oh. Like,
have you had that experience before in your personal life, sir?
Oh, my dad. But no, it's the reason I've never gone into the military. It's the reason, like my least favorite types of characters, like my most hated villains are like, like the stepmom in Cinderella,
yes.
or I don't know if you've seen any of the Harry Potter movies, but Dolores Umbridge. It's like that kind of character. Like because they exist so much in the real world, and they're all awful.
Why you gotta take shots at me?
Because you don't like stuff like that.
Yeah,
you don't
exactly. Don't consider that I would watch that. You're correct. That insults
That's what I
me.
said.
That's insult. No,
That's
you
what I
said.
said.
I don't think. You better know that I have never seen that movie before. I got to turn to camera B.
Dude,
I turned to camera B on you for that one.
Dude, I've got a wife and 2 teenage daughters. I don't need to get shit from you, okay? Stop it.
How about Network? Network on the list?
I think I'd put Network there above Chinatown. Just because, again, it's still an issue. Like, it was not only prevalent, like, it was not only, speaking about the media in its time, but it's just gotten worse now.
Okay, so you've hurt my feelings. We've kicked Chinatown off, but I understand because I think
it's a high alternate. It's a high alternate for sure.
I don't think it's going to make it. I don't think it's going to make it because I'm still going through. I know this isn't going to make it, but I am going to ask you about Carrie and what your favorite De Palma movie is.
Oh, it might be Carrie. Okay, I've got a real soft spot for Phantom of the Paradise.
Nothing wrong with that, sir. Don't be embarrassed about that. I'm going to go with Blowout on that one for me. Bro, I'm just about to hit you. Are you ready?
Wait, why wouldn't we put The Exorcist on there? That's like one of the most important horror films of all time.
It hasn't made my list. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Okay.
Threesome. Rocky, Taxi Driver, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
My
you got to kick out 2 of those at least. Yeah, that's brutal.
Let's go.
I told you, we got it coming.
Okay. So, Rocky is off the list because Rocky 2 is a better movie.
Okay.
Rocky 2 is a better movie in every way. Close Encounters of the Third Kind is like the only great and serious movie ever about aliens. Everybody rips it off, but I know it's not going to make the list because for some reason you're a moron and hate it.
2 stars.
You're fucking wrong. Like, no, this isn't even a matter of opinion. You're just doing this to be wrong. It is a weird kink that you have. It's a fetish where you probably go on forums and like talk bad about popular movies, and you're like, hate, you gotta hate my take on this. Oh yeah. But we're going Taxi Driver because there's nothing else like it.
Nope.
Before or since, there's nothing else like. I remember the first time I saw it in a theater. Just going like that grime, that grit. I just want to live in it. It is such a great movie.
All right, so we got The Godfather. I've got Clockwork Orange as an alternative. Taxi Driver. Blazing Saddles as a potential alternative. And
that's
Jaws,
an alt, yeah.
And Network. And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So we're already at 5, bro.
Yeah, but they're going to have to go.
So, which one are you kicking out for Star Wars?
Blazing Saddles.
Okay, that's disgusting, but okay.
But I don't care how you feel about it. No, like at this point, like it's irrelevant. It changed things.
Did Annie Hall change anything for you?
No, I am not. I've never been a fan of him.
I wouldn't argue to be on this list, but I love that. Now, we might fight over this one, and I think you're going to be surprised about this, but I really feel like that if we don't put Halloween on this list, we're kind of disrespecting this list because Halloween is everything for what came past that.
Okay. If we're gonna have to go 70s horror, I think it's got to be The Exorcist over Halloween.
Okay, that's fine. Yep, that's fine. I'm completely fine with that.
And
But one
I'll
of them
tell
has
you
to be
why.
on there, right?
Right, and I'll tell you why. Because we love watching 70s horror films in our house. 60s, like 67 and on, 67 and on are really like what we love.
Yeah.
And this past year we rewatched. It was 1980, but we rewatched The Shining. And that every time I watch The Shining, it gets better.
Yep.
We rewatched Rosemary's Baby. That was late 60s. Every time I watch it, I feel like I see it in a different light. Rewatched Exorcist, and I feel like I watched it for the first time ever because I don't know why it hit differently, and that movie is terrifying.
Yes.
And then we showed Ava Halloween, and she's like, "Yeah, it was good."
Yep.
And I went, "Yeah,
You did it
yeah."
in the
Like
wrong order.
in terms of even John Carpenter movies, I don't think it is top 5.
All right, you got a threesome coming next. None of these are going to make the list, but we need to acknowledge Midnight Express, Days of Heaven, and The Deer Hunter.
Deer Hunter is tough to kick out of that list. I might even say Deer Hunter over Taxi Driver.
Boy, okay, we'll have that argument in a minute.
Yeah. I think I'll have, because again, it's the whole Vietnam aspect, like what it did to us. And you're dealing with.
Are you going to have 2 war movies then? Because I haven't got to Apocalypse Now.
I go. I think I go Deer Hunter over Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then I'm sure you're not going to allow Alien in there.
God damn.
Bro, when I saw that in the theater a couple months ago, changed.
There's nothing like Alien.
Yeah.
There is absolutely nothing like Alien.
I agree.
Oh, that is a tough one.
Yeah. Yep.
That's on the alternate list for
Okay.
sure.
All right. Well, then we'll go back to the bottom and we'll go and see how this goes. Clockwork Orange, I'm sure it's kicked out.
We're missing my absolute favorite movie from the decade though. And one that I think it's like the one that I would save for future people. And I think is probably the second best achievement in terms of what Hollywood can do when it really wants to make a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Superman.
Okay.
The original Superman.
Okay.
12 units, 6 continents at the same time. And in the 70s, they made a person look like he could fly. Like that.
Insane.
Like they did stuff in that movie we still
That's why
haven't
the
been
70s
able
are
to.
the best.
Yeah.
This is
The 70s are the
exactly
best.
the reason that the 70s are the best. Okay, so kicking out of Clockwork
Yeah.
Orange. I'm
We
sure
haven't
that's
even covered like
we haven't covered
like
100
half
of my
of what we
favorite
could've.
70s. I just went,
Yeah.
mainstreamish.
This is a very mainstream list.
Godfather,
Has
solid
to be
in
there.
there. That's a 5. Okay, so I've got 1. How about, you kicked out Blazing Saddles. You kicked out Chinatown. Jaws, I got Jaws for 2.
Yep.
One
Star Wars
Flew Over
has
the
to be on
Cuckoo's
there.
Nest. Is it going to make the list?
No.
Okay. Network.
No. I
Carrie.
put Deer Hunter. Because especially if we're talking about like ensemble casts,
Okay.
I'd have to put Deer Hunter on there above all of those.
All right. Star Wars.
It has to be.
Okay.
It has to be on there.
Okay. Deer Hunter. So we got 4. And all right. What's our 5? What's our 5th and our alternate?
Wait, what do you have?
We've got
Godfather?
We have got Jaws,
Star Wars.
Cuckoo's Nest, and Star Wars.
Deer Hunter.
And the Deer Hunter's 5. Okay, what's our alternate? This is a hard one. I needed something fun though.
Exorcist.
Okay, yeah, you can give me the
Exorcist.
Exorcist. Just don't give me another Deer Hunter. The Exorcist is very tough watch in its own way. Don't get me wrong, but I couldn't handle 2 Deer Hunters in this.
The Exorcist again. This last year when I rewatched it, I've always enjoyed it, but for some reason, like like something clicked where I'm like, oh, this is how I should have been watching it the whole time.
God, I love it when
And
that happens.
And my favorite thing about it is how the scariest stuff in the movie is the medical examinations they put the girl through. Like the sound of the MRI, the sound of all the machines, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
The
Same kind of ideas like Marathon
man.
Man. I put that in the same kind of the way they
Yeah.
utilize noises that way.
and like we didn't talk about, Dog Day Afternoon. We didn't talk about
I mean, I
think it was
talk about Eddie
70s.
Coyle, for God's sakes.
we didn't talk about Billy Jack.
The Long Goodbye. Any of Tarkovsky's films.
What was the Straw Dogs? We didn't talk about Straw Dogs.
Straw Dogs,
And I love Straw Dogs.
Yeah, it took me a while to get on board with that one, but I am definitely on board now. So again, that's what proves it. 70s are the best.
Kicking Taxi Driver off hurt.
There are some very, very difficult omissions on that list for sure. All right, we have made it to the end of another perfect episode of Matt Men Movies Podcast. We are Sam Rockwell and Gina Gershon's #1 podcast to go to when they're driving to Cleveland, Ohio, if they go through Cincinnati, but not if they go through St. Louis. Different podcasts altogether. So that one
completely.
we've nailed with them. So we thank you, Sam. We thank you, Gina. We really appreciate the support here at the show.
Although to be fair, I love St. Louis. I love St. Louis.
I've never been. Never been to St. Louis.
Beautiful
city. You can go. Yeah, I go west. I always go west. That's always been my thing. Matt, the people need something from you. You need one more thing, and they need to know what they should watch this week. This is the time where we always suggest a little something for the people to enjoy until they see us next. So, Matt, I ask you, what do you recommend the people to watch this week?
Longlegs. Go watch Longlegs because I've heard nothing but great things. I'm going to go see it. Or if you still haven't, go see Maxine because that movie was so much fun.
Triple X Maxine, baby. Triple X.
Yep.
So, you usually accuse me of this at least 7 times an episode. So I'm going to go ahead and make it 8 times an episode and call myself out for being an asshole. Here's what I was an asshole about this go-round. The last time that I watched Dazed and Confused, I gave it a 2.5 stars. I don't know why. I cannot tell you where I was at mentally at that time. I don't know if it's the time of day that I watched. I don't know if I had enough drugs. Honestly, I don't have an answer to that question. But I got over that. I rewatched Dazed and Confused again this week because it's on Criterion. And you know what? Of course it's glorious. Of course it's a 4.5 star movie. Of course it was wonderful. Criterion has the beautiful, I guess it's 4K, whatever it was. It looked fucking amazing. All the colors popped. Everything was wonderful. If I could just get past like the 3 minutes where they're doing the mean things to the freshman girls whenever they're initiating them, I'm not a big fan of that.
Air raid.
Yeah, air raid, bitches. Yeah, that's, a little suspect on that. Otherwise,
Parker Posey is such a bitch.
and it's because she's so good at that. Yeah. That's kind of part of it. So go watch Dazed and Confused again. Enjoy. Spend your time.
Gonna say something.
Hit me.
She should have played Lois Lane in Superman Returns.
I would have loved that. I would have.
She needed to be Lois Lane. When I heard Parker Posey's gonna be in Superman, I was like, oh, she's gonna be the best Lois Lane. And then it's like, no, she's playing a henchman. It's like, okay.
What is your favorite non-mainstream Dazed and Confused quote?
Oh.
It's a toughie, especially since I just watched it, so it's kind of unfair.
Yeah, because I don't think I've seen it in a couple of years, but the way she says air raid has just stuck in my
For sure.
raid.
Yeah. Working for the city. I love that idea. I love that the character stole that from McConaughey when he's talking about working for the city. I love that's a small town thing. Like, I have literally heard people say, oh yeah, I'm working for the city now or whatever. And like, that's like a big accomplishment. I just love it when he just uses that when he's in the store and he doesn't know what to say when he's buying the beer. And that's his small talk. And he picked that up. Fantastic.
Real quick, can we mention how back when the movie was made and when it was supposed to take place, him saying, girls all say the same age. Like, that was considered, well, that's kind of skeezy, but like, we get it, man, we get it. And now it's like, oh, ew, he's 20 and these kids are 16. That's disgusting.
And that's why I didn't discuss that, but of course you brought it up. This is the end of the episode. Is there anything left to say before I just threw you under the bus?
See ya.